What's up, bladers? Joshua100 here, back with another video, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make the best defensive type Beyblade in Metal Fight Beyblade. So as you can see, I do not have 0G parts with me right now, unfortunately, and the reason for that is because I did sell most of my Metal Fight Beyblade when I quit originally. However, I still do know my stuff when it comes to competitive, and even though there will be some parts like 0G and stuff that isn't 0G that I just don't have anymore, yeah, even though there's going to be some parts that are there like that, I'm still going to be showing you exactly what is competitive, and I'm going to be giving pictures, inserting them in this video so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So anyways, yeah, as you can see in this video right now, I have split the parts into two sides. So this side on the left side is what I like to call the God tier, pretty much the preferred defensive type parts, and on the right side is what I call the alternatives, because if you don't have these parts on the left side, then you can easily try to get something similar or recommended by using something on this side. Stuff more common, stuff like pretty much alternatives. So yeah, that's pretty much the little intro. Now let's get into the actual video itself. First, we're going to talk about Facebolts. When it comes to Facebolts, the recommended Facebolt for defensive type Beyblades is the Metal Face Heavy. So as you can see, this is the Metal Face Heavy because it has the metal core and the metal frame on it. Reason this would be recommended is for obvious reasons, because it is the heaviest Facebolt in Metal Fight. So there's the Metal Face Heavy. Now, if you do not have the Metal Face Heavy, but you have a regular Metal Face, then this can also do. Again, Metal Face Heavy is preferred, but the regular Metal Face will also be good for defensive type combos. Obvious reasons, because it's heavy and yeah, it makes the Beyblade way more. It's gonna be better for defensive type combos, more better than a regular plastic, what do you call it, regular plastic Facebolt. So yeah, next up we're going to energy rings, and what I have right here is the best energy ring in the game. So this is Bull. The reason that this is the best defensive type energy ring is because it is the heaviest, and it being the heaviest results in it being the best for defense. So this is Bull. Now, if now next over there, I would have something like Hades. The reason Hades is good for defense is also because it's heavy, and it's usually used in a lot of stamina combos, but it's also very defensive because of how circular it is, and again, because of its weight. So here's Hades. After that would be Lynx from Beat Lynx. Same reason as Fusion Hades is an energy ring, because it is circular and because it's heavy. So this is also good for defense. Now, I do not have these Beyblades on me. I mean, these energy rings on me, but two honorable mentions for the God category of energy rings is definitely Aquario. Aquario is another heavy energy ring, and Aquario, like if I'm doing it in order, if you don't have Bull, Aquario is a good second. Same reason that Bull is defensive, because of its circular look and because of its weight. It is also a very heavy energy ring. And the third best out of, see, I would put Hades and Lynx after these two. I would put Bull, Aquario, and the third one I'm talking about now is Kerbex. Kerbex is what I would put as the number 3 best defensive energy ring. And then I would put Hades and Lynx after it. But Kerbex is Kerbecs is very good for defense too because it is also very heavy and it provides a lot of grooves in it that that even though it looks like it wouldn't be balanced, it is very balanced. And yeah, it has a good center of gravity. It like adds to the center of gravity in Beyblades, so it's very good for defensive type combos. So now if you don't have those 5 energy rings that I just talked about in the God category, here's some alternatives. First one being Sagittario 2. Sagittario 2 is very round and isn't as heavy as the other energy rings, but it still is pretty heavy for an energy ring. So Sagittario 2. After Sagittario 2, we have Leon 1. There was Leon 1, which came on Rock Leon, which is this one, and then there was Leon 2, which came on Fang Leon. So this is Leon 1. This is the one that came on Rock Leon. Very defensive because, again, it's very circular and very thick, actually, too. Like, it has a thick plastic. It also depends on which mold you get, which is the deal with a lot of these energy rings. Mold plays a big difference, but the original Rock Leon mold energy ring is very good defensively. So there's Leon. Third, we have Virgo. Now, Virgo isn't the best for defense, which is why I put it in the alternative category. And the only reason that I would say that is because it isn't very circular either. But the reason that I did put it in this video is because it is actually heavy. A lot of people sleep on Virgo because a lot of people don't know that, but if you do weigh them, Virgo comes at a little over 3 grams, which is pretty heavy, and kind of anything that's above there you should want to, you know, think about in your Beyblade combos, so defensive type combos. So yeah, here's Virgo. Put that over there. And for some honorable mentions on the alternative category for energy rings, I have 4 more to add to you. So first one is Cancer or Gasher. And the reason that Cancer is making an appearance here is because even though Cancer is the best energy ring for stamina, it still does provide good stability and weight for something defensive. And the same applies for the second energy ring that I want to talk about, Cygnus. So Cygnus and Cancer are both very commonly used in stamina type combos, but they are also good for defensive type combos as well. They have a good amount of weight to them, and because they have such a circular type of design on them, that's what makes them good for stamina, but that also makes them very good for defense because it keeps the Beyblade very balanced when you put it on there. So Cancer and Cygnus are definitely 2 good alternatives. Third alternative that I would want to give is Jupiter. Now, the reason I would say Jupiter is none other than because of the fact that it does weigh a good amount. I put it up there with a bunch of the other Beyblades a bunch of the other energy rings that I just showed you, like Virgo and Sagittario 2. Jupiter is also one of those 40 Beyblades that has a good weight to it, so that's another good one. And the final energy ring that I would want to talk about that I don't have, but for the alternatives category, is Unicorno 2. Now, Unicorno 2, a lot of people would initially be like, wait, wouldn't that be like better for something attack? And I would have to disagree because, I mean, I guess it looks cooler on an attack Beyblade, but when it comes to actual reality and how the Beyblade actually functions in real life, Unicorno is definitely better as a defensive type, not only because it's a heavy energy ring along with the other ones that I said, but because the grooves in the stadium itself, in the energy ring itself, provide good, like when you're pairing it up with something that has similar grooves, something like maybe El Drago Destroy or Death, or something else like defensive type wheel like that. So I did have to mention Unicorno 2. So yeah, and before we get into the fusion wheels, I do want to name 3 synchron wheels from 0G that definitely deserve mention in the God category. So if I did have these on me right now, I would put them right here, but since I don't, I'm just gonna tell you them. first one is Revisor. So Revisor is a heavy chrome wheel, and because it's heavy and because it's circular around, it provides very good for defense. And the same goes for Killer Ken. Killer Ken is the second one that I would want to talk about for the God category and synchron wheels. Killer Ken is definitely has to be your go-to for defense. I mean, it's so bulky, so for defensive type Beyblades, bulky is something that you want. So having something that's bulky is kind of the way that, you know, you kind of want to make your combo. So that's definitely a must. But yeah, and the second one that I would want to talk about, the third one that I would want to talk about for the God category would definitely be Genball. Now, Genball is something that is also commonly used in stamina type combos, but Genball is also good for defense because it does have a good weight to it. Now, even though it may not be the heaviest, it does have a good weight to it. And it also provides, like, the wheel itself, the chrome wheel itself is also circular, so it does provide a good amount of stability to a combo that you use it with. So with that being said, those are the 3 chrome wheels that I would recommend for defensive type Beyblades in this God category that I just kind of talked about. Now in the alternative category, I do have a couple more, and again, don't have them, but I'm still going to talk about them. And first one is definitely Dragoon. Now, this is a little weird because Dragoon isn't really the go-to for defense, but the reason I'm mentioning it in this video is because it's heavy. I'm pretty sure it's heavier than Killer Ken, which actually surprised me, but I have to look that up to double check. It is actually heavier than Killer Ken, and it's heavier than a lot of chrome wheels. So not only its weight, but the obvious reason, it's left spin. And because it's left spin, it may have a capability of stealing spin and providing more of a wall when it's in battle. So Dragoon is definitely one of the alternatives that I would say. Second one that I would say would be Garago, none other than the reason that it is pretty heavy. And the fact that it's heavy provides you with a good amount of balance in battle, and that balance kind of can provide like a wall. So Garago's there. And the third chrome wheel that I would put in the alternative category would be none other than Ballro. Now, Ballro, again, has a good amount of weight to it, but the reason I put it here is because in defense combos, it acts like a wall. And when you pair it up with something proper, like, I don't know, maybe Ballro Dragoon, that has a lot of potential because when it's paired with something powerful, it has the ability to just bring out that other chrome wheel's power. Because of the grooves that are on the side, it can provide very helpful in keeping attack types from not knocking it out, and from competing for stamina with stamina types. So that's pretty much all the chrome wheels that I would recommend. And yeah, now let's get back to the video with the stuff that I actually have. Let's go to fusion wheels. Now, here we have Duo in stamina mode, of course. Now, a lot of people would be like, wait, I thought this was really good for stamina. And you'll find a lot of overlaps like that in stamina type combos and defense combos, because yes, you're right, Duo is actually the best stamina wheel, but it also provides very good for defense too. If you make a proper kind of like combo with Duo, your chances of winning are very good, because it's like the way that it's shaped, it pretty much is like the 40 version of Basalt, which I'm going to get to next, but it's pretty much the 40 version of Basalt. It's just a little lighter, and it has more balance when you put it like this. It's just so circular, and this like circular shape around the fusion wheel provides very good for keeping up a wall for defense. So Duo is definitely up there. Next, I would want to talk about what I just was mentioning, Basalt or Twisted. Once was the heaviest fusion wheel in the game, got outclassed by Diablo. But the reason that this is good for defense, I mean, you're gonna see this in everyone if you ask them what their best defense type wheels are. This is definitely gonna make everyone's list because of how heavy it is, but also because of how balanced it is. I mean, really, this thing, it kind of does have the same weight all around. Even though this looks like staircases, doesn't that make that much of a difference? It doesn't make a Beyblade unbalanced because of this thing right here. This is like such a good shape because there are grooves over here which kind of prevent attacks from really impacting it as much, and because of how heavy it is, it doesn't move as much. So this is definitely another go-to for defense type combos. And to be honest with you, before Synchrome technology came out in 0G, Basalt was way overpowered for all defensive type combos. It obviously got outclassed because of Synchrome technology, but before that was even released, this was the go-to. And combos with Basalt were pretty much unbeatable at one point, so don't sleep on it. And the final fusion wheel that I have on the God category for defensive type Beyblades is Death, obviously in defense mode. Now you'll notice something about the other two wheels and this wheel that I showed you in the God category of fusion wheels, and that is they all have a very circular type shape to them. You saw it with Duo, you saw it with Basalt, and now you're seeing it with Death. Now, obviously, it has capability of being more attack type when you let its grooves open, but when it's like this, it can provide a good wall for defensive type combos. So again, if you don't have Duo or Basalt, Death in defense mode is a very good alternative. And it's so good that it had to make its way in the God category, not an alternative. But that's Death. Now let's get into let's get into fusion wheels on the alternatives side. So here we have Diablo. Honestly, even though that there are a lot of gaps over here, because this is the heaviest fusion wheel in all of Metal Fight Beyblade, not including 0G obviously, but because this is the heaviest fusion wheel, it had to make the list because it does take a lot of power to actually move this thing back and get it like out of the stadium, for example. So that is pretty much the core of being a defense type Beyblade, and because of that, it had to be mentioned in this video, even though it does have some flaws about being in a defense type, like the grooves that are over here and stuff. But yeah, because of its weight, it definitely still does provide a good amount of power. So keep that over there. And next, I would want to talk about El Drago Destroy. So you're kind of wondering like, okay, why is he talking about El Drago Destroy? It's clearly an attack type Beyblade. And the reason I'm bringing it up here is because this is also heavy. When it comes to stealing spin, it does have capability of doing that. Not as great as something like Meteor El Drago, but it still does have capability of stealing spin, which can definitely provide good for life after death type combos. And because of that, it does provide good for defense. I mean, the metal energy ring over here is just so heavy that if you paired this up with the right combo, it would definitely be able to act like a wall against its opponent's Beyblade. So again, maybe not the best for defense, but definitely worth mentioning. And after that, we have Fusion. So let me just put it together. So Fusion, the reason that this is being brought up is because it has that same circular shape that the other fusion wheels in the God category had. But the reason this didn't make the God category is because it's too light. If it was slightly heavier, then it definitely would have made that category. But the reason I want to put it like this is I want the rubber facing up, and that's because when it's attacking, it has a good chance of not absorbing the opponent's power, but pretty much like deflecting it kind of, because the Beyblade isn't going to take as much damage when it's hitting the rubber versus when it's hitting the metal. So because of that unique feature of the fusion wheel being half rubber, half metal, this definitely does provide good for defense, because some hard attacks and hard hitters of like attack types or something, like it wouldn't do as much damage on a wheel that's half rubber in comparison to one that's full metal. So yeah, the circular shape in addition to it being half rubber definitely puts Fusion on this list. And next we have Burn. So Burn, the reason that Burn is on this list is because it has a good amount of weight to it, even though it's not like, you know, the heaviest or whatever, but it has a good amount of weight to it. And that weight, even though it is a little unbalanced, if you put it with the right combo, it definitely has the capability to be a good defensive type Beyblade. It's still round on the sides, and yeah, provides us a good alternative if you don't have 40 Beyblades or something, for example. So yeah, Burn. And the final alternative for defense type fusion wheel is none other than Earth. Now, Earth is good because it has that same circular type motion that the other like good defensive type Beyblades have, but the reason that this is an alternative and not like in the God category or something is because of these grooves. If it didn't have these grooves, then it would definitely be in the God category, but because it does, it is more of like a balanced type fusion wheel. But nonetheless, it still is very good for defense, still very circular, it still has a good amount of weight to it, and with the right combo, this can provide very useful in battle. So yeah, that's Earth. And now we move on to the spin tracks. So going back to the God category, let me show you what, in my opinion, is the best defensive type spin track for synchrome combos and regular metal fight combos. We have BD145. So the reason that this is a good track, it's especially better, like significantly better in synchrome combos because of how big the synchrome wheel is. So when you use this, it pretty much adds like an extra layer to that wheel, which is very awesome. I mean, the height is still 145, so it's not like small, but it adds an extra layer of defense. Like it's like basically 3 layers because of how like there's little gap over here. So, and same goes for metal fight. I mean, if you use it on a small wheel, it really doesn't do what it should do. But if you use it on a big wheel, maybe something like Death, maybe something like Duo, maybe something even like, I don't know, Fusion, I mean, it definitely provides a good amount of defense because it literally acts like an extra layer. So this is definitely the best defensive type spin track, but only with the right combos. So I'll put that to the side. Next up, definitely have to mention TH170. The reason that this is being brought up is because it has a good amount of height to it, and when you change it to 220, which is its maximum capability, because as you know, the spin track can change height. When you change it to 220, it is pretty good, but even if you keep it at 170, it still provides very good because it's a bulky spin track and it provides a defense type Beyblade the right amount of height for good defense type capabilities in battle. So there's TH170. And after that, the final spin track in the God category for defense type combos is E230. Now this is really the only 0G part that I actually kept. I'm not sure why. I think maybe just I forgot about it, but I like found it recently and I was like, oh wow, like, you know, it's good I didn't sell this because I got back into Beyblade and this is pretty competitive. But this kind of has the same reason why BD145 is competitive. Only difference is I would look at this as like a 230 version of BD145. Pretty much this Beyblade, it does move or whatever, yeah, but this thing acts like an extra layer. So if you do make the right combo, most of the time it is synchrome combos, but if you do make the right combo, E230 can be very helpful in keeping defense and acting as a tank in battle with your combo. So very good. And now let's move on to the alternative spin tracks. So first off, we do have 230. You probably guessed that this was coming for obvious reasons. Because it's so tall, it provides a good amount of height for defensive type Beyblades. Only problem is it's not ideal because it's very hard to find a combo that actually is balanced with a 230 track, and if you do find one that's balanced, it definitely has good tank kind of capabilities to like be a wall and not like really let anything impact it in battle. So 230 is very good to use for that. Next up is for forget what this is called. I think it's a Downforce 160 or something. I really don't forget. I'll put the name of it here though, because I'll know by the time I'm editing the video. But basically this is Dark Knight Dragoon spin track, and the reason I put this in here is it kind of has the same capability as a TH170, except this is 160, I believe. But yeah, no, it kind of provides that good height for a defensive type Beyblade. Like, it's not super tall, but it's not super tiny either, and it's kind of like right in the middle. Kind of the same reason why you would want to use TH170. If you don't have it, this is a good alternative for that. And then we have AD145. Now, if you don't have any of those spin tracks that I talked about, this is also a good alternative, mainly because it has that little armor over there, so it's going to be sticking right to the Beyblade, and this is going to provide a good amount of defense to be an actual wall and stay in the stadium. It doesn't really hurt if you don't have something too tall as a spin track. This is definitely preferred over regular 145 or something like that. So yeah, this is good. And I do have one honorable mention for the alternative spin tracks that I do not have on me, so I'm going to be showing it to you here, and it is SA165. So SA165 is actually good for defense because it pretty much is like a bigger, chunkier version of AD145, and except the height is 165, so that is a preferred height in defensive type combos. And when you're using it with the right combo, it because of that height and because of the balance that it provides, it can act as a very good wall, which is kind of what you want when you're making defense type Beyblades. So SA165, definitely a good honorable mention for this video. And now let's move on to the tips. So I want to be showing you what, in my opinion, is the best defensive performance tip, and that is none other than RDF. So the reason this is the best is because of this circular like little shape around the actual tip. So this circular shape provides a good amount of life after death. What that is when it's spinning, because this is circular, it's actually able to get a few more rotations in just because of the circular part of it, and it does spin for a long time. I know very unbeatable combo with something like Y-Bang Dragoon BD145, which is this RDF. The reason for that is because it was left spin, it was able to do more spin stealing because of this tip than it normally would do, you know, in like regular battles. So this is, you pair it with the right combo, and this tip can be very rewarding. Next up, I do want to talk about MB, or Metal Ball. So Metal Ball is very stable, and it's very good at kind of being a stationary defense type, just sitting right in the center of the stadium. And again, you pair it with something heavy, and this is just a great addition because it's not really gonna move. It doesn't have the capability to move too much because of the metal ball that's there. So that's pretty good stuff. Next up, I do want to talk about RS, or Rubber Sharp. And yeah, this is pretty much the same reason that MB was good. You use this tip and it has the potential to just sit right in the stadium. And yeah, it is a good alternative if you don't have those other two tips that I was talking about. So RS. Now here's another one. Almost dropped it. We have CS. Mine is kind of beat up, but CS, Coated Sharp, is very good for defensive type combos, but only specific ones. And the reason I put this here, it was actually going to go in the alternatives category, but the reason I put this here is because if you pair it with the right combo, this thing can be so promising in battle. It has the kind of it doesn't have like the regular tips like where it'll just sit in the center. It does move around a little bit, but if it is with the right combo, like a heavy combo that keeps it balanced, it will stay right in the center and will provide you with very good defensive capabilities. So CS is definitely has to be in the god tier because of how powerful it can be. And then we have Rubber Semi-Flat, RSF. Again, mine is kind of beat, but this kind of is the same reason why the other tips would be good. You keep it in there and kind of is like CS. It doesn't literally sit in the center like exactly. It does move around a little bit, but it still is good for defensive type Beyblades because you put it with the right combo, and the rubber over here allows it to be very promising. So here's RSF. And the final performance tip that I would want to talk about in the God category is none other than RB, or rubber ball. So rubber ball is kind of the same reason why RSF is competitive. I would say it's more competitive than RSF, but pretty much it's literally like RSF and metal ball kind of combined. It sits right in the center. Again, if it's not worn down, it sits right in the center and provides very good stationary defense capabilities. So yeah, RB would definitely be in the God category for defensive type performance tips. And now let's move on to the alternative performance tips. And I'm gonna start it out with saying MS, or metal sharp. So metal sharp has that capability that I was talking about before, which is pretty good for defense type Beyblades, which is sitting right in the center and absorbing attacks and being a wall. Only problem with this is it doesn't have too round of a shape at the end, so it kind of doesn't have the life after death capabilities that you would want, but nonetheless still good for sitting right in the center. So yeah, metal sharp. And these three tips I'm going to talk about together. We basically have semi-defense, defense, and WD, which is wide defense. So pretty much these three provide the same amount of support in battle. They have a kind of triangular shape tip, and if they're not worn down, then they can provide very good for defense because they sit kind of right in the center of the stadium and provide a good amount of stability to the combos that they're attached to. And out of those three, I would definitely prefer this one, wide defense, more, but any of those three are good for defensive type combos. So yeah, I would definitely run those up if you don't have any of the performance tips that I just talked about so far. But yeah, moving on, gonna talk about ES, which is Eternal Sharp. So Eternal Sharp is good for defense, mainly because it is free spinning over here, and because of that, it provides good stability in the center of the stadium. So that's good. And then we have EDS, which is Eternal Defense Sharp. Same reason ES is good. It is free spinning, but this is actually better than ES because it has the little circular area here, which provides for a little bit of life after death. So this is pretty good. And mine is again beat, but if it wasn't beat, this would be very promising in battle. So if you do have a good EDS, then that is definitely something that you should run up for these kind of combos. And finally, the last performance tip for the alternative defense type performance tips is something that I don't have, but something that is very good for defense type Beyblades. It is EWD. Now, you're probably wondering why I didn't put this in the God category, and the reason is because when it comes to defense type combos, EWD focuses more on stamina, but it still has that defensive power. So because it focuses more on stamina, I didn't put it in the God category, but it still is good for defense. The eternal tip in the middle of it provides a good amount of spin, so EWD can definitely spin very long, which is something you want in a defense type, but what it lacks is that stability to sit right in the center and not move, which is essentially what you want out of a defensive type Beyblade. So yeah, still an honorable mention, but I would put it in the alternative side. Whew, so that was a long video. I'm going to be making a sample combo just to show you guys what I would make right now, like a good defense type combo for myself as I wrap up this video. But while I'm doing this, let me just talk about real quick again what you want a defense type combo to have. So basically, first thing that you want to focus on when you're making a defensive type combo in Metal Fight Beyblade is its weight. you want it to be heavy, because when it's heavy, it can't be moved around as much. And you want something, literally just think about wall, think about tank. That is what you want when you are making a defensive type Beyblade. You want it to be not moving as much. You want it to just sit in the center. You want it to be a wall. And if it can do all of that, then you have yourself a good defensive type Beyblade. So yeah, pretty much you need to focus on all of that. You need to focus on it being a tank, and you need to focus on it being stable in the center of a stadium. If it can be stable, if it can be heavy, and if it has the capability to be fully balanced, then you have a pretty good defensive type Beyblade. Now here's one that I just made, Metal Face Heavy Basalt Bull 230 CS. This combo is very good. It is very heavy, and it the wheel, the energy ring, and the face bolt provide its weight, but 230 and CS allow it to be very defensive because it sits in the center of the stadium and it won't be able to be knocked out by something easily. If it was a smaller spin track, then there's capability of it being knocked out, but because it's so tall, it's very rare to actually knock this thing out. And because of CS, it's allowed to spin for a very long time. So Basalt Bull 230 CS is my defense type combo for this video. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video. I do have a couple more videos that are like this. If you ever want some competitive help on Metal Fight Beyblade, just check out my channel or check out my playlist. But that pretty much does wrap up this video. So please don't forget to like, comment, favorite, and share. But most importantly, please subscribe. And thanks so much for watching. Peace out, guys.